about Dr. Zanetor Agyeman Rawling. Yakasa bebrina about Nyoma Waye in her constituency over the past almost 8 years. Interestingly, you've been MP in opposition, mewa, like
yes.
throughout your tenure, and party our opposition. Okay, and no, man, particularly difficult.
Very, very much so.
Oh.
But once what can obey your dream manager, you, in spite of the challenges, you still have to do your bit.
Yeah.
And we're doing what we have to do. I'm not the first member of parliament to be one in opposition.
Yeah.
Of course, indeed post be our government, but as a member of parliament, your mandate is clear.
Yeah.
You must do so. Yeah.
For the numerous intervention projects, where they fund? How do you fund them?
Some of it is by raising funding. Some of it is my own money, and some of it is from the statutory funds. Common fund, no, ne get fund, ne
NHIS.
Yes, exactly. Now, with all of those, there's a very specific procedure by which Ubenya says because Sikano embamen chain. It goes into the accounts which is presided over by the municipal assembly, for example, another directorate, which means I have to be able to provide evidence of one here says and equipment and therefore you do a covering letter and all of that, and once that happens it could do hona. Sometimes that's where the issue is. At times be a delays be eba. Yeah.
And some of the delays, you think deliberate?
Sometimes it's been the case, yes. And sometimes it's simply because the fund has not just been dispersed in spite of the request, Sikano Emba assembly for you to be able to say be a winner first quarter now second quarter or whatever ubitimidi ayejuma ediaboa won crop for. What
project na wetimi in the constituency am I feel very fulfilled? Say I am fulfilled to be able to have done this for the constituents.
Different things, because based on the different areas, there's no biane woman need. But I think one of the things I may na many jin hopa any intervention na may usu night market. Because for me, it was a way of letting people understand. Say cancer carbon footprint that was making it tangible. And actually making protecting the environment and making it profitable at the same time, because a com obia na we say nipakono entry environment how can you make it a win-win situation so that people are incentivized to do what will be useful for the environment? And I think that was one of the ways in which we helped to improve, affect behavior change, and then also ensure that we were protecting the environment and protecting the lives and livelihoods of the women and children who actually work or live within that particular area. And see, that's one of the projects but there have been lots of others. If some areas something as simple you would think as providing street lights, improving the security in an area, that for example was very good. Another thing I'm very happy about is any agric project now. It's an ongoing project. Training Emma a youth near persons with disability, and it's providing them with the training in rabbit breeding, mushroom and snail farming. And what we do is training. We make people go through a process of applying, because into what we show interest. We make sure say your interest is not just say you're taking as a tick box, but you're prepared to actually put in the work to actually succeed. Now you're training them out one more. Then we give them a package into snail training. Now the snails amount, so that you actually have your stock to start with. Say rabbits the rabbits no cage amount and mushrooms and also just to make sure say if we're talking about trying to grow the agribusiness sector, it's not just by talking, and sometimes training is not enough, because while you're training, also a means of the person starting business. Now I just doing a little bit of homework, we realize say the sikama obina ebia ohia sikana wan hwe ya sikana nka wose ode start a business there might be some competing interests into the side, but when we provide them with the means, which is the actual the rabbits or the snails, they can start right away. And we've had a lot of very positive feedback from Woma side. We had even one lady single parent. She was part of the first cohort of trainees. You're training on rabbit farming, and rabbits now. She was breeding now and now did school fees. And people have gained a lot of benefit from that. And some who did the rabbit training last year, this year came for the snail training to add to it, just to diversify, the base of what they were doing. And see, there've been a lot of those things going on, and we had about 20 members of the deaf community who participated in the training. Snail farming, and some wanted, some other persons with disability were interested in the rabbit training as well. So we're looking at inclusivity, but in a way that we want people to succeed. We're not doing it, say, I can't say, so and so number of people, not SMAC. Once it's done, we try and keep them connected. So they can support one another in a sort of like a cooperative visa, and a lot of them have actually grouped together, and they are doing a lot of these projects together. Some are adding value and selling to shops and so on. It's very encouraging. And speaking of persons with disability, I was actually at the Accra Rehabilitation Center. It's just opposite the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Now, most of the persons with disability, they tend to have their meetings within this particular municipality. Now, you would just feel so sad. Yeah, the place has really been neglected. Not enough funding is going to the area. Now, I just decided, so it's something I have to just mention to see if we can have a lot more people, including the Ministry of Gender, to pay a little bit more attention to that.
To that place.
Because it's a place where, if we're talking about inclusivity, na ebia obi ebia ninifra ana hard of hearing ana whatever the challenge that the person has. Now at such a center, they're teaching them skills, but there's even a braille printing area over there for those who are visually impaired. And see, there is a lot of potential in the place, but it's almost as if there are always these competing interests, and persons with disability are not mainstream. So as Abeya to say sideline, every now and then somebody remembers them, and then a little bit something, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. If we're really talking about inclusivity in the spirit of which the 1992 Constitution was actually crafted, we must not leave anyone behind. So Okohona, the place is really the potholes in the on the compound. Now, when we near Fra, they use the stick to guide them, because the place is not level. It's actually a hazard to them. Now, I use wheelchairs, so it's actually quite sad. I will use this platform to appeal to the sector minister to kindly pay a visit to the center and see how they can do a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more dignified than it is. They've tried to set up an area, a small foundation of a building which they want to create into a boarding facility for the women or the female, persons who are studying and learning a trade there, because and there's no area for the women. Females. And of course, inclusivity. We can't just have one section of society being catered for. Indeed, that's something that I'm hoping that a bit of attention can be brought to that, because what happens is there's a part of the common fund that is meant for persons with disability, but even though they're giving some, not enough, but some of it is going to individuals. I think that the centers in the various districts where you have a lot of the training happening and the support happening for persons with disability, they need to send some of the money there just to be able to help with the maintenance and the upkeep of the place. So the Bay say inclusivity, there's at least that center that is able to make provision for persons with disability to learn the trade. And it's not to turn the place into a TVET center, because once you do that, the criteria changes, and now it's not specifically for as a rehab center or persons with disability. So that's not what we're looking for. We want the place to actually be given a facelift, to be enhanced, for them to include, ICT, or like some kind of computer, aspect, technology to that, because things are moving fast, and we can't say that the old trades that they were learning and teaching people are the same ones that are still being done. We need to make sure we're moving with the times, because there are people who are visually impaired who are really amazing on the computer. Inti say to me creates opportunities now. Then we also have a situation where there is a little bit of inclusivity and more, I suppose, equity, within society.
This will be your third election in 2024. More primaries, nipa sign a contest here.
There were three of us.
Two.
Yes.
You were three. The last one, the number Dawson, right?
The last one was the same number.
And it was not the same
yes.
number. Okay.
Yeah.
You have the same number contesting you every time.
It seems so, yes.
But that's really not what you wanted, Meboa.
You know what? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're looking to deepen democracy, and part of that is that whole aspect of it's open and people can contest if they wish. I think the problem with that is sometimes the level of acrimony that comes out of it, because people, in trying to paint themselves as better candidates, now just trying to malign somebody else, which I don't think is necessary, because when you do that, which is not really what you're looking for. You're looking for a situation where, in the aftermath of whatever the outcome is, whatever the election, you should be able to bring people back together. And I say, if in the path of deepening democracy, because you're allowing for people to be contesting, you are creating so much animosity within the same group, that I think is unhealthy. And I think that's where structures of the party would, probably have to be more proactive in terms of, the guiding principles when it comes to how people conduct themselves during elections. Yeah.
When constituency chairman contested.
That was the last time.
Both
of them. One was a former chairman, the other one resigned to contest.
Wow. Wow. And I went so the recent one, how many contested?
One gentleman who contested, we all contested the very first time in 2015 actually, and the other one, I think she moved her vote over, and also
okay, but having gone twice, would this next year be your toughest elections yet?
I don't know whether I should. I don't know how to answer that, except to say that of course, as the years go by, the dynamics on the ground change, and it's really about staying on top of issues. And for me, the fact is, complacency is not what I'm doing in terms of how I go about it. Whether it's tough or not, what we need to do will be done. Now, at the end of the day, the people will vote based on if they believe that I can represent them well or not. And I believe, sir, to date, I've done my best in terms of representation in the House and representation within the constituency. And of course internationally as well, because for example, there are certain trips that I go on, the African Parliamentary Union, where I'm part of the delegation that represents Ghana, in various countries in Africa, and it's to make sure that at least when you're going there, you're speaking on issues and so on, you can actually make Ghana proud. I think that ultimately the people will decide whether I've done well.
But you have your eyes on happenings in the NPP within the constituency,
I'm observing, yes.
And who they would elect to come and face.
Well, there's an interesting tug of war going on, so I'm observing that, but ultimately my eye is on how to provide the best kind of leadership for the constituency. So it's staying abreast with what's going on there, but at the end of the day,
also, if it so happens, said the pundits be now predicted say MPP folk we need naughty. So need naughty.
You're called independent.
Yeah, you're called independent now. Was I join the MPP? If it so happens, all no muyina. How do you see him? in terms of the strength in the constituency and the potential contest between the two of you?
Oh, at the end of the day, I have no worries about that because I haven't stopped working from the very first time. And like I said, mine is not to get complacent.
Okay.
Fine. Fine. Either way, I'm focusing on that.
But you are sure you can maintain the seat for the NDC?
Oh, I will work hard at it. I'll work hard at it, provided says nothing funny goes on behind the scenes. Dear. We will be vigilant and we will make sure we maintain the seat, because at the end of the day, we need 2024 election, in your presidency now. We must ensure we have the majority that we need in parliament to be able to ensure policies now emanate a free president. We can actually do our part in terms of legislation.
That's really interesting, because I've heard people say the person who presents probably, because our first attempt the MPP for the lawyer, I think lawyer Philip Addison.
That's right.
And UBT, Second one MPP for the wine by.
What's his name? Prince. Yeah, Prince Apiada.
Okay. And I've heard people say Obi or presented the brightest chance for the NPP. Really, does his candidate channel send some shivers down your spine?
Not at all.
You think so?
Not at all.
But I hear you're a grassroots person, or you're known in the constituency.
If you say so.
Oh, no, I hear. I don't live there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you say in one particular area, fair enough. But, how about everywhere else? And ultimately, look, I would like to see what his story would be if he's going to be campaigning on the ticket of MPP. What is he going to tell people that MPP has done? Because honestly, at this point, I mean, even some of the presidential hopefuls in NPP are saying they're not sure what they are going to campaign on. And see, if at that level, no one and some to promote their party now, then good luck. Yeah, because I don't do this propaganda talk. I like to be straightforward with people and be real. I mean, at the end of AI. Because ultimately, two things. Your integrity is important. In this na ABB a red, na me see a blue. I must be able to account for that at the end of it, because yes, and between God and myself, I want to be able to say, God, today I spoke the truth and I did my best. Not every day at the end of the day, God, I'm so sorry. Forgive me, next day, tomorrow I'll do better. I mean, as a leader in any sense, as a citizen, as a human being, as much as possible, I was all try say, what kind of and they understand, say you are doing your best, but these are the realities on the ground. I think people are reasonable enough, because I think we've seen enough of the fake promises. A platform, so it can be a promise or heaven. We all know, say, and even not even the humility to say, oh, propaganda. But should you put yourself in such a situation, why not just be upfront to start with?
So if I heard you right, I just say the NPP government and should any footprint behind the constituency, something they can point to.
They can try. I'm not going to sit here and speak on the MPP's behalf.
Anybody who would be on their ticket would have to come up with something about culture constituency.
Yeah, and for me, ebinum enenam, membodin, ebinum enenam. Edwin say last minute, only bet me diseka abedada. Really? All these years now, in Yamanaya Diaman Crofono, where were they? I think it's the height of cruelty. So betrayama elections are so answer na wadrin say ABR sika way na bebo way and I bebo esimesi way. I think that level of cruelty we're seeing in politics really needs to stop. So what was sikampa now chess up the buan crofwa, then come and have interventions in the community. Not simply because open crofwa eto aba ama wenti opesa o de sika ebe say form as they say. If you genuinely want to help the community, then do things that are sustainable. By empowering them. Yes, last minute elections in now the sika by Eddie No. I think
it will not work.
I don't think so. I mean, we saw what happened in Asin North, in the lead up to the by-election. And I think that people are more discerning now. Ebia ene obi say ene oto abama me mema of free electricity. Okay, fine, maybe for today, but it's not sustainable. Let's be careful about one more votes one day in overly enticing, too good to be true promises. We know the reality in Ghana. Let's make sure say one more say your votes no. They are speaking the truth, and they are speaking within the scope of what is possible and what is sustainable. And not to make slaves of people. Say, instead of teaching you to fish, oba na or the kakraba. When you do that, you are not empowering people. You are rather diminishing their capacity to stand on their feet.
You and I think as the commenter by and suggests, you speak so well. Why are you not part of the NDC's communications team?
I suppose I can't answer that because usually say Wombefa Obi Ediaka team there's usually a meeting and then you get selected or you get appointed or informed. So I don't know how to respond to that because I'm not
so interested. You want to do it.
Oh well at the moment Ejumana Yediamamino is what is in my constituency.
That's their constituency work.
And I guess. Well, if I'm asked, I won't refuse to support the party. Okay. I mean, in the last election, I was asked a little late in the day, but to join the health committee
for the manifesto. No?
At the end of it.
Okay.
So I was actually called in at the tail end, so I wasn't really there at the very beginning of when all of that was being done. But I'm always ready to support. In my capacity, in whatever form that I can be effective. Yeah.
I've heard people say, and when the names of running mates ever apa, your name pops up. I mean, Mate Mebusa Honorable Kojo Asare, for example, former MP for Adenta, now body potential running mate within the NDC. List be or the Atuja Biaudi. And when I've heard other people also say, John Mahama consider Oba, he should look your way. Are you flattered by that? And Alfred said, you've done a lot to put yourself in that position, where your name even comes up when we are talking running mate in the NDC.
Well, I'm sure people are looking at a lot of different factors and perhaps coming to that conclusion. Flattered, I don't know if I would quite say that. I think it's an interesting responsibility because I think by so doing, what it does is perhaps to remind me to maintain a certain level of integrity in what I do because these things matter. But it's I guess I'm honored by the fact that the name keeps coming up if that's the case, but ultimately Enyamina me appointed me home. And I think beyond that, no, I don't know how to respond.
But if that call comes through, would you respond?
Oh, let's not be preemptive or premature in this question, me Paucho. But like I said, look, at the end of the day, when we're called to duty, we take it up. And it's not a case of shying away from any chance to serve, the party and ultimately Ghana. And for now, where I find myself is as the Member of Parliament and parliamentary candidate for the constituency in Ejumana.
That's what you are focusing on. Because interestingly, Sisiana may check me messages and our constituency secretary, Eugene Ishen Elliott. He's your constituency secretary, right? I say, Obi, don't you think my MP and parliamentary candidates should be considered for the running mate slot, despite the exceedingly aptness of Prof. Jane Nano Agyeman for the slot? Mama Fafali. That's your name? Mama Fafali is the Yasantua of Klottey Korle, the slayer of elephants such as Philip Addison and Prince Deborah, and will soon add Ninoy Valentino to her conquest. Eugene Ishen Elliott. And Odiwe Abba. And you see, I told you, I mean, it's something that's really gaining root in the NDC. So there was a part, eshe way. But if, and again, I mean, not to preempt what the flag bearer will do, but if the mantle should fall on you, what do you think you bring onto the NDC ticket? If the mantle should fall on you, because it can.
You're using a different way to ask the same question again, Obi. Yeah, you're trying to be very tricky here. I think I will have to dodge this question.
Dodge this question, eh?
I'll dodge this question.
I'll grant you that. But we say, Obi, let her settle the debate before she leaves the studios. Great Olympics or Accra Heart of Oak?
Oh, goodness. Why not be as
Alex Martins and Okoforidia.
Heading.
Or no, a heart supporter?
Well, you see, traditionally, no. I'm a heart supporter.
Oh, okay. That's where the issue is. But I say, oh, true.
Great Oli. Interesting. Yeah.
Oli and Accra Heart of Oak, Charlie. That's one hell of a debate. We say, Obi,
isn't it?
We say, Obi, thanks for the re-emergence of Valentino Nino Enote, aka Nidade. The MP for Korle Klottey is now waking up to her job. Unfortunately, it's too late for her. Playing the affirmative action card at this time won't save her either. The hard-working, competent, vibrant, energetic, and selfless official landlord of Korle is back home to rescue the seat for the NPP. Sir Obama in Pokwase.
That's Pokwase, only constituency. Obviously, he doesn't know the dynamics, so I'll let him off the hook on this one. But I actually take exception to his point about the affirmative action. Okay.
It was not.
I think it's in very poor taste. Yeah. Because the is exactly the point I was making about the issue of women in leadership. What does Ejumana May have to do with the point I'm making about the fact that the reality is there are not enough women in parliament, there are not enough women anywhere with regards to decision making? And he should learn to separate the two issus. Because what does it have to? I've never at any point said that people should vote for me because I'm a woman. It tells you the mindset that he's coming with. But I really believe we need to disabuse our minds of this kind of mentality. I
agree. Let me see, because I was call visit area and I can into Lagoon. Lagoon. My final where's your mom? Mommy way?
On crying.
Oh, she's around.
Yes.
But recently I heard the NDC were making overtures to her to come back.
Well, if you heard that, Nenya Nipakrona or Catcher or no, I was so on the confirm the current status of that.
No, as I BBC, of course, you would know.
Oh, Nasa and Nisa Metina platform. So I can once there has to be an official position that the party takes. There's a national chairman, there's a general secretary, there's a flag bearer, but in terms of the proper protocol, no, and yes, I was a Metina, I can't say something.
From your political career and the Siwenisono, has the demise of Daddy taken something away?
His demise has taken something away from us as a country. Obviously, that's my father, and we were very close. So for me, a personal loss. But I think that overall, at a time like this, with everything that's happening, not just here, but in the sub-region, a lot of people keep mentioning his name now, which I think, so I can't say it's a personal loss to just myself, even as a party, we that's our founder. We've lost, our founder, as a country, we've lost a head of state who really stood out, not just in this country, but across the continent as well. I mean, so I'll share some of the Nyema in Krofo, was sub-region, Kano, and even in the whole of Africa, one of the things they credit him with is we've seen, a lot of heads of states change the constitution to remain in power. He could have chosen not to even go into constitutional rule. We've seen countries where, in spite of whatever international pressure, no, Papa no so also on. So I think that he left a good legacy, and that's what we are building upon. There's a Fourth Republic because somebody in the case of him, for example, decided, say, he would abide by the Constitution. In 2 terms, no, and he bowed out. He did not interfere. We have seen in countries not far away from where we are, where the person finishes their term and they decide they won't go.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy if we are talking about deepening our democracy. And see, yes, I think his departure has been a huge loss to not just myself or my family, but to, I think, the country as a whole.
Yeah. It's
but
true.
Hopefully, as we move forward, we will look back, to the lessons of the past and try and make sure that as a country, we must make sure we are putting things in place to ensure that those things that were not good do not happen again. And if we're looking at ourselves as supposedly the shining star of democracy, we must not have people using the very structures that are holding up this democracy to undermine what we have, in this country, because democracy is still quite young, and it's a fragile thing. So also around the sub-region, and you cannot take for granted that you have arrived.
Yeah.
The day you feel you have arrived is the day that things start to go wrong. It's an ongoing thing, and there should be that constant awareness. Say, baby, are you free? Abano. We've managed to get 30 years in this Fourth Republic. It didn't happen by chance. We mustn't undermine the structures that maintain this democracy.
And you think we should be worried with what's happening in francophone Africa, especially West Africa?
I believe said also francophone Africa. No, there's a common thread which is different from the anglophone countries. Okay, so we're having issues across with regards to mismanagement of resources, poor equity of lack of equitable distribution of resources, poor governance. People switching constitutions to suit their personal interests as opposed to what's in the interest of the people. So should we be worried? Yes, we need to take a lesson from that, to understand that democracy is actually very fragile. Now, we should look within and look at the things that are happening here that are undermining this very democracy that we are all celebrating so much. But I think a conversation that we're hearing but perhaps not having enough of is the reality of the status quo between France and the francophone countries. We can't run away from the fact that there is a lack of justice with regards to, or fairness with regards to how they have been allowed to grow post-independence. And if we are not going to have those conversations honestly, then we're going to be talking around the issues. Well, if you have a resource-rich country that has people who are living below the poverty line, there is something wrong. And say ECOWAS, ain't me and share situation, no, in all honesty, and dealing with the issues, no, and we are talking around it. We have a problem, because if we are going to talk about the issues of military takeovers in other countries, we should also be looking at the constitutional coup. That's what I will call it, because if you are elected into power, now why you are doing say constitution now wo beto
you want to tweak it to favor
abano for you to get into that position. No, now you want to tweak it to favor you, not because the people have asked for it. One and can say you deserve to stay longer. How is that different? You are just basically using technicalities to establish the same thing, which is to impose yourself on the people, which goes against the tenets of good governance. Democracy. For me, the honest conversations about what is going on in the sub-region, we need to look at. And we can't disentangle that from the corruption. We can't disentangle that from the issues relating to Galamsey. All of these things are related. If you look at some of the conflicts that are going on in the sub-region, you can literally superimpose conflict over resources. Which means that in the chaos is what people are using to rip the countries of whatever resources they have, further impoverishing the people as a whole. We need to have more of, in terms of, I think, enforcement of the law, and there have to be stricter, enforcement of whatever it is that will keep people in check. Now political interference na so yehu se obi aye bibia enye obehwe na obi afri office be say oh me nipa ni monjano. When you do that, you are breaking that system that says that when you do the wrong thing, there are consequences and the law is operating as it should. And I think the tape you played earlier on National Security Minister can't be, I think that's all part of how that works, because ultimately all of these things affect your national security. If you don't have enough drinking water for your people, that affects your security.
It's a national security problem.
Food security is also part of national security. Your environmental degradation, all of these things form part of it. So if you look at the Ghana's national security policy now, exactly, all of these things, and one of the things that's in the top of that list of things that are a threat to our democracy is corruption. We need to address all of these things.
Address that. It's true. In the latter part of Daddy's life, na down for Pane, the President of the Republic. Are you his friend as well?
Oh, I don't think I would say I'm his friend. He's our president, yes. Of course, there's a cordial relationship. I cannot disrespect him out of respect for the seat, and as I was brought up, you don't just disrespect people, but I don't know if I would say I'm his friend, no, but I was raised to respect the office. And you respect our elders. It doesn't mean that you cannot speak your mind. It does not mean that you cannot disagree, but I think it's about decorum and how we conduct ourselves.
But the NPP will lose 2024.
It is the NDC's election to lose, which means that everything is set for us to win. So we just have to do
the things
work
you have to do to
exactly
win. If you don't, then you lose. So it's your election to lose.
That's right. So we have to do what we have to do to ensure that we win, which is why this registration process that's going to happen from the 12th of October to the 12th of September to 2nd of October. No, I will say and make sure, in spite of the fact that I believe, the EC could have done better with regards to opening up more centers. The reality we find ourselves with now is that Wamasi District Office is so we have to make sure we allow as many, or we encourage and I suppose create the situation for as many eligible voters to actually go and register. Said the democracy that we are deepening, come the time for elections, those who are eligible to vote will actually have the opportunity to express their on the ballot.
Fantastic.
Paper.
The Honorable Dr. Zanetor Agyeman Rawling. We'll do this some other time. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We wish you very well.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And that's the Honorable Dr. Zanetor Agyeman Rawling, MP for the people of Klottey Korle here in the